Bronx Borough President Vanessa Gibson joined neighbors and constituents for an early morning vote this Election Day, November 8th, to cast her ballot and remind Bronxites to vote.
This is the final stretch. This is the opportunity for all voters, eligible voters across the state of New York, to cast their fundamental right to vote. And we know that 9 days of early voting, thousands of New York City voters have voted. And we're grateful that on the last day of early voting, we did have a higher number of Bronxites come out.
The ballot this election featured contested races like the gubernatorial race with Democratic incumbent Kathy Hochul and Republican challenger Lee Zeldin, as well as several other races.
And this election is so critically important. We are voting for our leaders in Albany that represent us, from the governor, lieutenant governor, comptroller, attorney general, state senate, state assembly, members of Congress, as well as our members who are running for the judiciary.
The election also held ballot proposals, which the borough president says are just as important to vote on this election season.
One relates to the Environmental Bond Act, which is a state approval that would allow the state of New York to invest more in our infrastructure to deal with climate change and environmental justice. We have many EJ communities here in the Bronx that have suffered with asthma and pollution and truck traffic and noise and so many other issues that have caused us to live with health disparities. So that's number one. That's important to support that measure. And the other three proposals are something very new. For the first time in the history of our city, we actually have proposals that relate to racial justice and equality in the city of New York, creating a real mayor's commission on racial equity and justice to look at how we can affirm more protections around housing, around education, around public goods and services, to make sure that there's an equitable distribution of these services for all communities.
The borough president also commented on historical low voter turnout here in the Bronx, hoping this election turns the tide with the turnout seen here today.
This is a county that has historically low voter turnout in the primaries as well as generals, and we have to do better. We cannot stand on the sidelines and complain about everything that's going wrong without being a part of the democratic process. No matter what party you belong to, you have a fundamental right to vote. And when you vote, you're voting for your values, for your priorities, for important protections, infrastructure. You're voting for jobs. You're voting for young people. We are essentially voting for our future, because everything is on the line in every single election.
Polls are open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. today, Election Day, November 8th. Remember to flip those ballots and answer the propositions on the back. Visit vote411.org to verify your poll site location and see a sample ballot. Reporting for BronxNet, Sonji Lopez.